Like, yeah.
Yo, the boots are fly. You be having some fly outfits. Yo.
Thank you.
Who's your stylist?
Myself.
Yo, we need a gunshots for that. All right, everyone, we are here. We're live. Therapy without a degree. I think I might have to hire a Laura. I don't know. You know what I mean?
I'm ready.
Yeah, you might have a new little side hustle.
Your fashion?
Yeah,
You want one of these?
Yes, I want. Actually,
it's the best.
Actually, I do have something like that.
Oh, well, you should have it on. We can match.
I should have worn mine. It's in the car, actually. It was. I was wearing it the other night. It was a pink one. It's
a pink one?
Yeah, it's pink.
Oh, man. We might have to pause and
you might have to go find it, right?
Next one.
No, I'll find some photos from it. It was. It has on the back, send nudes.
It's good on so many levels.
Yeah. It's really good for marketing. So, like, that's why I do a lot of times is because it's one of those jackets that people literally stop me.
This one, same.
Right?
People, they just are like, that's so fabulous.
See, be like, yeah, and here, follow my Instagram.
And
you know?
Yeah, I'll just have to put something on the back.
Yeah, no, but just when they stop you, then be like, oh yeah, check me out. See, it's a marketing tool.
True.
That's what we do.
I like it.
But thank you for coming on.
Yes,
I appreciate
good to see you.
Thank you for coming here and kicking it with us. All right, we are here, another episode of Therapy Without a Degree. You guys already know Joe Fugurino is in the house, in the studio. Today we have Javi is not here today. Jason's not here. It's just me and Princess. Princess is around here kicking it with us somewhere. And then we got a Laura in the building. We're gonna chop it up. What you been up to? Today is Monday. What'd you do this weekend?
This weekend, the answer is always work. I went to see Black Panther.
You did? How was it?
I hate to say it wasn't as good as the first one, but
that's what I heard. Why?
I always tell the truth.
Why? Tell us.
It just, the storyline, like, I'm so big on storyline, and like the storyline was a little bit, it was very, I felt like the loss of Chadwick, like you could feel that element was missing. There's nothing they could do about that, but it was just kind of like, I didn't love the storyline as much as I loved the first one.
Do you feel like they actually even focused on a storyline, or they just went right to action?
Yeah, it was hard to follow. It was hard to, like, you know, there were different elements. There was a lot happening in the movie. And I'm the kind of person who, like, I want to fall in love with your character and follow you and root for you and then whatever. Which it kind of does, but, like, it takes a while to get into it.
See, yeah, that's why I don't like, you know what's funny is I love film.
Like,
I love film and movies, but lately they're just bad.
The story, I'm so big on storyline. Like, you know, we're writers, and I'm write music and scripts and all that, and it's like I gotta really, like, I'm somebody who turns on the TV and like clicks 6 different movies before I pick. In like 2 minutes, I'm like, nah, next.
Yeah, if the dialogue ain't,
it's like you gotta really pull me in.
It's just too much action, too much just going on. Like, anyone can do that. Like, just because you could do it,
right.
That's what I be saying to a lot of these movies. Like, just because you could do it, don't mean we want to see it.
True.
Like, just because you could do all these crazy fight scenes and these action scenes and it look all great, don't mean we want to see all that. Bring back some, you know, a little story.
Yeah, definitely. But writing, like, storytelling is an art. And I think people forget that.
Yeah.
Like, you can get money and make action scenes, but what makes any movie or song or whatever, television show, podcast, is like you love the character and you want to follow them and you want to connect with them. And not everybody, like, that requires tapping into emotion and understanding. Like, there's a whole level to it. Yeah. It's not just, you know, blowing things up.
Yeah.
Which is cool. Like, I'm totally into that. But, like, why are we blowing things up?
You know, it's crazy. It's like they always say, like, how Fast Furious, like those movies, like that's what happened with the Fast Furious movies, that they just now just go crazy and they're going to space and all this stuff. So
oh, yeah. I haven't seen them recently.
I hope movies come back. Make movies great again.
Make movies great again, please.
Yeah, make movies great again. I gotta make a T-shirt or something like with that.
Right.
So you went to the movies. What else did you do?
Well, I'm working on my television show, you know.
Okay. Yes. Talk your shit.
My television show.
Yeah.
No, but it's, as we were talking about before, it's so much work that like this is like the fun stuff that people see. Yeah. The 90% of the other stuff is emails and calls and follow-ups and organization and making sure people are on task and do you know what you're doing? Are you confused? Do you have questions? Yeah. So it's a lot, you know. I never ever intended to have a television show, but
hey,
here we are.
Here you are.
Here we are.
And that's where you work and that's what you're doing. And I ask because now are you new to Jersey?
Mm-hmm.
How long?
Well, yes and no. My whole family is from Jersey. So like in my heart, I'm a Jersey girl. My mom's a Jersey girl. My grandma's a Jersey girl. My great grandma's a Jersey girl. So like I feel like, yes, this is home. But I've only been here about 2 years.
Where in Jersey is everyone from? Like
my family?
Yeah.
My mom, I might get this wrong. She was born in Neptune,
okay.
I think.
Where did they grow up? Around?
Asbury Park area,
okay.
Silver Lake, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yep. And now you've been, 2 years?
Yeah. Yep, 2 years.
How do you like it?
I love Jersey, which is really funny because if you told me 2 years ago, like, you're going to move to Jersey, I would be like, no, I'm not.
Yeah, like, nah.
No, not a thing.
Where were you before?
Atlanta.
Atlanta, okay. And how long were you there?
I think it was about two and a half years. 2 years too long.
She's like, nah, I had to get out.
I was done. Because Atlanta, I was like in Atlanta, but outside of it. So I'm like 30 minutes outside. And like when you're in Jersey, you throw a stone and you're in Manhattan, right? But like Atlanta's not really like that. Anything like that's not Peachtree or downtown Atlanta is like you're in the South. It's very different.
Yeah.
And it was COVID. So I was like, I'm in the house by myself and I don't know anyone here. And it's the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, because like now, at least, you know, with Jersey, you can go out and about. And that's why I asked you, because I know how it is to be like, you know, newly adjusting to like a state or like a city and stuff like that. So it's like, you know, it's and also, you know, as we get older too, it's like, you know, you gotta meet new people, meet new friends and things like that. But then also as you're working now, you're meeting other creatives, so that has to be probably dope, right? Yeah,
being like an adult and making friends is like an underrated, difficult thing.
Yeah,
it's like hard to make friends when you're like past like a certain age.
Yeah,
you're like, how do you like find girls that are your friends? You're not like in a dorm, you know? So it's definitely been, but because of the show, because of my music doing really well with radio and all of that, I've had the opportunity to connect because like there's a reason to like reach out, you know, like even for you and I is like, hey, I need help with this project. And then we connect and then it becomes like that. So I think projects has helped me connect with other people. Yeah.
And you out here, you staying busy.
So busy.
Yeah, you staying busy. You got the show. Like I said, you say, where did you now? So Jersey is new for you. Where did you grow up?
Rhode Island.
Rhode Island. Mm-hmm. How long were you there?
I was there till all through high school, and then I went to LA, and then I was in Minnesota for my degree. So I was living in Minneapolis. Way too cold.
Cold over there.
Oh my god, it was so cold. No more snow for me. I mean, this is enough. But and then I moved to LA after I had lived in Minnesota, and then I had a whole health crisis situation, so I went back to Rhode Island, and then I moved to Atlanta. Now I'm in Jersey.
Okay, let's go. You in Jersey? Shout out to Jersey. So for you, you know, like you're super creative. When did you like start a lot of that? Like, how old were you? Where did that? What was first? You know, what came first? Was it the singing? Was it music? Like maybe acting, performing, motivating? Like, because you know you do a lot. So what was like the first thing you were really getting into?
All of that. Yeah, as a kid, I mean, music is like I came out doing music. My mom is a phenomenal piano player. She played all through her pregnancy with me, and I think it was part of my purpose on earth. And I came out, and 3 years old, I'm like, teach me to play piano, and she's like, no, relax. And then 4 years old, I'm like listening to her, like and like trying to copy. She's like, okay, I'll teach you.
Wow, that's
yeah.
fun.
So 4 years old, I started playing the piano. And just like my mom would probably tell you, like I could have been a prodigy playing the piano, but I got to the age about 12, 13, and I like wanted to write songs and play the guitar and play the violin. And so I kind of like spread my talent amongst a bunch of stuff instead of focusing on piano. And then I started writing music when I was 12, and I was like on the local radio and my little guitar and Taylor Swift situation.
That's fire. And now where is this? This is Rhode Island, right?
Yeah.
That is fire.
Yeah.
What were some of the songs? Like, what was when you were writing? What you were inspired by?
I was like definitely a church kid in youth group and all of that. So I would like lead the youth choir and youth group, band and whatever. That's kind of, it was very spiritual. It was very church music, because that's what I felt connected to. I was like not a like super fabulous kid. I was like very shy. I was kind of like a wallflower. I didn't date boys and go to school dances, and wasn't a thing. I loved music. I still do.
Who was some of your like favorite? Who were you listening to then when you were like that age? Just start now. Who were you listening to?
My like idol is Whitney Houston. I remember seeing a movie called The Preacher's Wife, and she like sang in this jazz club, and like it took my breath away as like an 8-year-old, a 9-year-old. I was like, I want to do that. Excuse me. And so that was like one of, I always kind of talk, in interviews, people constantly want to know like, where'd that come from? And I have two really distinct memories. And one is seeing that movie and seeing her, Lionel Richie's in the audience. And he says something about, she's got that secret in her voice. And I always felt like that's how I feel about music. I love it so much. It's not something I can explain, but it's something that you feel when you connect with an audience. Yeah. And I always felt like out of place, except for when I did music. I felt like I can connect to people. Excuse me. I can connect to people through this avenue in a way where I don't feel like the pretty girl, or I don't feel like the popular girl, but this allows me, everybody feels, everybody has emotions. So having that was kind of a superpower. And then another memory for me is watching Sister Act with Lauryn Hill, and she sang His Eye is on the Sparrow in a church. And it was like, that was a very spiritual experience for me to see. She was there by herself. She wasn't performing. She was nothing. But the way she felt and the way the music moved her, it was like, I was like, that's me. That's how I feel. Yeah.
Because a lot of times it's like when you have messages or you have beliefs and things that, or emotions that you kind of want to spread. Like you said, maybe, you're not doing it one way, but you're doing it another. And for you, it was like through the music. Yeah. It was just spreading some of those messages, right. Because it's crazy because sometimes, communication is real, but sometimes we have like our best forms of communication. It may be through podcasting, right. It may be through writing, it may be through, your music. So for you, that was your way to like express and kind of like, do your thing with people, but through the music.
Right. Right. Yeah. I like, now I'm writing my show, which I'm folding music into the show, so that's cool. But my dad recently was like, I found all your old report cards. Do you want them? And I was like, I guess. And so I ended up like going through them and reading. And every year, I mean, I'm talking like first grade, my teachers would write, Alaura is an exceptional writer. She like something about how good I was at writing. And I always felt like I'm a great songwriter, but I never knew that was like a secret inside talent inside of my songwriting, is that I could actually write stories and write scripts and write things like that. And I, looking back, it happened to fall in the same time I'm starting this television show. And I was like, wow, like maybe I can write, scripts and tell stories the same way I do with music.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Because, that ability to write, that goes with a lot of different things. A lot of times people don't understand, like you said, you're writing the show, writing concepts, like people don't understand when you can express yourself as a writer, which not many people can. Right. That's a very like, it's a high talent that it's very hard to be able to express yourself in writing. Yeah. And if you could write, the songs and you write the other stuff, there's so many other things that you can kind of get into. Yeah. That could help out like a lot of your own creative journey as well. Right. So now through all of that, do you feel like doing the music was, because you enjoy it, right? Like, so do you feel like that was like a form of, because I talk a lot about on this show, like music therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And like how music is, like I have these shirts and they say, like music is my therapy.
Yes.
Like for me, music was always one of those things that was like, because it was such a different form again of communication,
mm-hmm.
that like, when the music that I was listening to was always very impactful, like with the writing and
right.
and the lyrics. So for you, do you feel like that was always something that kind of like helped you out through whatever journeys you were going through? Do you feel like the music was always like a therapy for you?
Yes, 100%. That was like I said, that's where I felt like I could express myself. I could be honest about how I was feeling or what it was. I felt like I had purpose when I was doing music. I felt like I always kind of say, like, if you can write about emotions, not like you said, not everybody can write, and not everybody really knows how to identify their emotions. So like for myself, I would say one of the number one things people tell me at a show is, you said exactly how I've been feeling, but I didn't know how to say that. And to write that through music is so powerful. And that was my outlet. That was my therapy. It was like I didn't really feel like I could talk to people or share what I was going through, or like there's such a sense of self-worth and self-value that you have to overcome, that I was like, I can be honest in my music and people can relate, and I'm doing a service and I'm doing what I love. And that to me is purpose 100%.
Yeah. 1,000%. Like that's, now do you feel like the people around you noticed it, like maybe your parents or friends or anything like that they started to see that, wow, okay, like she's really expressing herself and her emotions and how she feels? Do you feel like people were almost kind of getting to know who you were a little bit more through your music, like people that were around you?
I think that there was a lot that I had to deal with on my own. I think that maybe they did and saw it. I didn't feel that, but I think that that's a reflection of ourselves, is like when you feel like people don't love you, or people, that's a reflection of how you feel about yourself. Because when you love yourself and when you feel worthy and all of those things, you just like, it's like me or don't, I don't care. I like me. Like, that's cool. So I think that there was definitely a growing space for like myself. People say, oh my God, you're so talented. And people would say it to me enough that it made me keep going. People would say like, what, like, wow, you're really good. Like you're, on another level. I come from a small town. It's like, oh my God, what are you doing here? And that made me enough. Every time I would go to like the next level, right? It would be like, I play an open mic and people would be like, you're really good. And then I would go play a real show. And then people would still say, you're really good. And I kept pushing the envelope, like, how far does this go?
Let's see how
And then I started playing shows in New York City, and like nobody knew me. I'm some girl from a small town. And so I'm like, I'm going to make my money either way and see what they think. And again, people would say, you're so good. And that's what made me, it wasn't really family. It wasn't really like close friends. It was strangers who really kind of fueled, like fanned the flame of, maybe this is really like my calling.
I feel like that happens a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like that happens with all of us, like as entrepreneurs, like it's, we talk about that a lot actually on this show.
Really?
Even just in friends, like it's and a lot of us think it's like just us.
Right. You always,
like,
and then someone else is like, yeah, me too. I go,
it's
really?
like every single person. You know what it is? Because I actually heard this on another pod somewhere and it made a lot of sense. It was like, they know you, your family or your people that were around you know you. And it's like, they also know about all the things and not saying a lot of people, doing this, because there's a lot of people who do start a lot of things and they finish them. Mm-hmm. But they know about all the things that you started and you didn't finish. Mm-hmm. They know about all the things that you tried
that didn't work,
right. Or that you tried and then it was just a phase. Mm-hmm. So like, I don't think people go into it like that, thinking that, oh, okay, this is just a phase or this is just a hobby or whatever. Mm-hmm. I think it's almost just by like almost second nature that they don't like know. I guess it's hard for people to pinpoint what they're going to take. Even though us as creatives and people, we're like, no, you should just support everything we're doing. You know what I mean? Like, hey, if I say tomorrow I'm going to start up a new business, support that shit.
That's right. Yes.
right?
Yes.
Just support that shit. But I think on the flip side, other people are just like, oh, well, you know.
Yeah, we'll see. Good luck. But here's my thing. Two things. One is there's a difference between listening to everybody and listening to the expert. My thing is, if you're the expert, I want to know what you have to say. If you're not, probably can't help me.
Yeah.
Like my mom and I used to get into it about the music industry, and my mom is a brilliant teacher, and I've called her on, running courses and teaching students, and every time I have a question about teaching, she's the expert. And I used to tell her, Mom, like, have you signed a record deal? And she'd be like, no. And I'm like, then why are you the person that I should have consulting my contracts, my this? Like, but that's your mom. Like, but they don't want to feel like, oh, they don't know everything. You're their child. They're supposed to guide you about everything. But that's really not their job. Their job is to love you and be there. And she did in every way she could. When your kid is like, I'm going to be in the industry, like, that's a scary thing because there's nothing you can do to control it, especially if it's a world you don't know about. Yeah. But it's like my dad, is a brilliant business person. Every business thing I do, I call him, but not because he's my dad, because he's an expert. And so I think that there has to be, like, when you're getting into something that's creative, you have to just weigh those opinions. Is this person somebody who really has the authority to tell me, yes, do that, or no, don't do that? When I run into people with radio and interviews, I always want to know what they have to say. But if it's like my cousin, brother, sister, whatever, it's like you take it with a grain of salt because they're not the expert. And that's okay. Like, it's not something we should take personally. It's not something they should take personally. It's just you should consult who's going to help you move forward. And then I think the other thing with that is, like, you just have to know that people are going to come from a place of their own space. Like, they're going to come from, they can only meet you so close about how much they can support you and all of that from their own limiting beliefs and their own self-worth and their own, the people who are going to cheer for you and say, go for it and try it and whatever, are the people who are also doing that, who also believe that anything's possible, who also, the people who are saying, no, well, you want to be careful and worry and this, that's because that's the space they live from. And you have to decide what's right for you.
Yeah. And I think that's where it kind of comes. And I think that, like, backs up the whole, like what you said was speaking with the expert. Like, because I like to do a balance, right? Because I like to, I think, like you said, perspective is great. Perspective is everything. Mm-hmm. Having the perspective from different individuals, from the expert, mm-hmm. from the non-expert. Sometimes I am a little more open from taking it from the non-expert as well. Mm-hmm. Only because I know, like, just when you start going through life, mm-hmm. you start, like, seeing, like, some people have, like, I'm a big believer that a lot of people sometimes have the knowledge. Right. As an expert, but we're not an expert.
Interesting.
Because it's like there are certain times, because life is crazy. Like certain circumstances, it's like the most silliest thing is, like, let's just say there's a guy who's amazing at basketball. Amazing. He's great. But then maybe he just missed the one opportunity right. to get signed that day because he was sick or, right. or his dog got sick or whatever. He would have made it. He would have been a professional. But because of that one life thing, now he's not. So now maybe he's now a coach. Uh-huh. Or now maybe he's like a, something. Or maybe he just does a podcast now on basketball. Mm-hmm. Right? He's not, quote unquote, the expert.
I disagree. I would still say he's an expert. He's still an expert. Absolutely. Right? So, like, let me be clear when I say the expert. Like, for example, when I say, because now we all have our own, like, so it's like, when I say expert, everybody's an expert consumer. Everybody. So if you're talking about putting your podcast out or putting your music out, you want everybody's opinion because everybody's a consumer. But it's like, same with this basketball coach. It's like, that's your job to weigh, is he the expert or not? Like, to yourself, kind of I would say he is. I would say he's done the experience. He has, and a degree doesn't make you, this is therapy without a degree, right?
Yeah.
Like a degree doesn't make you an expert.
Yeah.
Like life experience makes you an expert.
Of course, yeah, and again, yeah, like experience, like you said, that's the biggest part, and what these people are exposed to. Because, like you said, if they're not exposed to certain things, they're maybe going to have those limiting beliefs, and they're maybe going to say, "Oh, be careful with this," because maybe they weren't exposed to it.
Right.
You know, exposure is big. You
Big
know,
time.
so like that's what we expose ourselves to, and the environments that we expose ourselves to, and the people we're around, and the networking and all that. That's like makes or breaks, you know, and that really shifts a person's like for you probably wouldn't be who you are today if you weren't in, you know, having your time in Atlanta, having your time in LA, like that.
Yeah,
exposure
no way.
makes you who you are.
Absolutely.
You know, all those different
I would
experiences.
say exposure and experience makes you the expert.
I like that. Look at it. Making bars. Look, see? That's the writer in her. Yo, that's the writer in her making bars right here. Put it on a shirt. Put it on a shirt. Oh, my bad. But I gotta hype you up.
I love it. I'm here for it. I wore my big fabulous jacket
Yes,
just for that.
I love it, yo. That's fly. So, okay. Exposure is really important. What do you feel are some things that maybe for you that you were exposed to in your journey, you know, right? Whether it's creative, whether it was just growing up, that kind of made you who you are today, that, you know, without that, maybe you wouldn't have a piece of you now.
I will say that being in Atlanta was the absolute 100% hardest chapter of my life. And I don't think that I would be as successful as I am without it.
Why so?
Because I come from a small town. I come from a church background, and I have an amazing mother who raised her kids and to be kind and polite and generous and truthful. And that is not exactly how the world works, especially the music industry.
Yeah.
I think my biggest mistake coming into the music industry was I'm a nice girl. That won't happen to me. And I was wrong. And it really was a boot camp for me of this is how it is. This is really how it is. Now, there's like a period where you're like, it's like culture shock, where you're like, oh my God, can I be myself in this world that represents all these things I hate? Dishonesty and lying and manipulation and using. I'd never seen that in my whole life. And I kind of got a crash course of like, you know, even as a woman, I hate to admit this is part of my story, but like the sexuality becomes a part of that. No matter how nice you are, no matter how conservative you are, it's like, if you're a cute girl, that might be on the table. And so it really thickened my skin to say, no, this is what I stand for, and this is who I'm going to be, and I'm talented, and God has decided that this is the path for me, and some way, somehow, it's gonna work with me being the person I am. But I had to know the reality of the game. I couldn't just be like, no one will tackle me because I'm like so cute and nice. Wrong. I had to learn that, and I had to kind of strengthen myself so that I could still be the person I am.
Yeah, and how to hold that integrity.
Yeah. It's hard. It's very hard because it's like a Band-Aid fix that you can go on the casting couch and you can do whatever just to get that next opportunity. But I always felt like, what happens if I do that and it still doesn't work out? I'll feel like shit. I'll feel bad about myself. And so I really maintained my integrity, and I came out the other side like, okay, I feel beat up, but we did it. We're here. Yeah. And it was so important for me because I needed that reality check. You know, this is how the world really is. You don't have to be a liar. You don't have to be a manipulator, but you have to know how these pieces move.
Yeah. And I think we all, you know, sometimes have, because we all have different experiences, we all have different life. But I always do say, like, you know, we learn those things. You know, we learn how like the world is, and
right.
in certain, but we all learn it in different ways.
Yes.
Like one person might learn that through their father. One person might learn that through their mother, or through their friend, through like their environment, like where they live. You know, one person, it might be, okay, in a few years when you start doing your career, like, you know, everyone is different, but eventually it's going to catch you. You know what I'm saying? And eventually it's going to, like, you're going to find it somewhere. You're going to find it maybe in your workplace. Right. So for you, you know, like you said, when you're growing up, you didn't experience like that because you came from, you know, like a loving home and everything. So for now, how old were you when you first started like experiencing stuff like that, like within the music industry? And you say you go into Atlanta and, you know, things like that, and you're starting to realize, oh no, like this shit does happen.
Way too late. Like late 20s.
Okay.
Which it's like, I'm so glad my career didn't take, you know, like you were like, I wanted to work right now and this, and like there is a reason that there's a order to things. And like, you just have to trust, like blindly, it's gonna work. It's gonna work at some point. Like for myself, I always talk about with the television show, never in my life did I imagine having a television show. I literally have a television show because someone was like, do you want a TV show? And I was like, yes, please.
Yeah.
That's what happened. But I realize as I'm making the show, I'm making an impact on people. I'm getting to have conversations with people. I'm getting to connect. Those are all the things I love about music. But I had to be willing to like kind of open myself up and allow the universe and God to like lead me a little bit, because I was very like, this has to be like this. And then going through all of that, it was such a shock. And it was late, you know, late 20s. You're basically, I was just talking to my assistant about how, you know, for music, I'm old. Like that feels like, ugh. Nah. But, and a lot of people, no, whatever. No, I've had a lot of people in the industry be like, oh, you're too old. I've been told that many times. And so, you know, I went through those things later in life, but it's like, I feel like I was kind of on this path to do television and music, but I didn't know that. So yeah, it was later, but
trust the process.
Yeah. But you got to trust the process. To me, it was later, but it's like, everything's on time.
Yeah. Now, what did you feel like through those moments, right? Like, what were things that maybe other people are going to, if other people are going through the same thing, like what helped you keep that integrity, you know, like through those different times when it's like, you know, there's situations that shouldn't be happening or, you know, like circumstances that almost seem like shortcuts or just even like just blatant disrespect that you feel like you shouldn't be getting and you standing up for yourself or just doing the right thing. Like for you, what were some of those things that you had to do to help keep that integrity that maybe somebody else wouldn't do?
It was hard. I'm not going to pretend like it wasn't, but I will say very honestly to you, I never was like, maybe I should do that. Never felt like that. I was like, well, there'll be another opportunity. And I think my faith, I think that I'm a very spiritual person. And I always felt like no producer, no manager, no label is bigger than what God can do for my life. That's how I felt.
Yeah.
And this opportunity, because I was in a situation where I've had a lot of men telling me, you can't do this without us, which is hilarious because I'm the writer, I'm the singer, I'm the producer, I'm all the things. And right, yeah, definitely. It's like, you can't do this without me. But it was enough manipulation and talk and smooth talking and whatever that it made me feel like they're right. Like I've never been here before. I don't know how to get to that next step. And so it was confusing. It was very confusing for me. But at the end of the day, I really always felt like the way this universe is set up is so much bigger than you, guy, you producer, you manager, you whoever. Like, I know who I am and I know I'm destined for great things. I think everybody could be destined for great things. You have to peel those layers. You have to peel those limiting beliefs. And I knew that was the secret, not this has to be this opportunity. It has to be this. I felt like frustrated and disappointed and all those things, but never enough that I was like, it can only work if I do whatever. Never.
Where did you think that faith came from? Like, I know you say, you grew up religious and having faith, but like, where did that, like, what kicked in the faith for you?
That's a really good question. I think it's just like, it's hard to describe. It's a feeling in my heart, in my gut, that like, it's hard to explain, even to my mother. It's hard to explain, this is what I'm here on earth for. And not everybody feels like that. I feel thankful that I feel like it's so freaking hard. It's so confusing and overwhelming. But at the end of the day, I'm like, this is my purpose. What the heck? What else am I going to do? Yeah. I know a lot of people don't feel like that, but I think that that's a big part. Jay-Z, there's like this clip floating around the internet. Like Jay-Z talks about, there's a knowing. There is a knowing in yourself. And I think that if you can get to a place of being willing to adapt and take advice and talk to experts and not have such a big ego that, oh, I got this. No, you don't. You're 20, like learn from the experts. If you can have that willingness to be coachable and more and more and more and constantly work on yourself, I think that's where the faith comes from, is saying, I don't know right now, but I can learn,
Yeah. And I think fighting through that process, I think a lot of times people get stumbled.
Yes.
And because faith is like one of the biggest pieces of all of it. Because like you said, it's just having faith through it all, keep moving, and then by standing through your integrity and having faith over time, you start seeing the pieces come together. But a lot of times people don't have faith.
Well, and here's what I'll say to the people who are like, how do I find that, right? Yeah. Is like, if you're here watching this podcast, you're still here. And it might feel like nothing is going your way. I've been there. I have been there where I can't buy myself like eggs at the grocery store. I've been there, definitely. And I feel like, what the heck is going on? Like, I thought we were on the same page about this. And the bottom line is like, the universe, you're set up to live this life. Like, if you're here and you're still breathing, everybody, oh no, yeah, I'm breathing, whatever, but I can't pay my bills. But you're still here. And there has to be an authentic appreciation for just being here. That's where the faith comes from.
Yeah.
From being like, I know that things can work out for me because I'm still here. I don't worry about how my heart beats and if the sun is coming up tomorrow. Like, those are big things. But we feel like, of course. No, not of course. Like, people in Ukraine every day, when I take a walk by the water, I take a walk like every day. And I think, oh, what they must feel like. Bombs are going off and they can't see the sun. Like, gratitude is everything.
You're right. And we take a lot of those things for granted, and then, it's crazy. Like, I don't know if I brought the story up before, but one time, my mom, she was locked up. She was locked up not for too long. She was locked up for like 9 months. And then she came out and she was like, wow, like the sun.
Yeah.
She was like, the sky, like things like that smell of the fresh air. Mm-hmm. She was like, even the pollution.
Yeah, right.
She was like, all that shit. She was like, wow, it's such a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, like, you can just see it in people's eyes sometimes of how much, and that's just things we just take for granted, like on a regular thing. Like, people don't understand. And then sometimes, that's why you see sometimes people that, it's like, I try to get people to think about these things before it gets, not too late, because it's never too late, but before it gets deeper than it should be.
Right.
Like, you shouldn't have to go do 5 years in prison,
right,
or whatever this is, for now you to wake up and smell the coffee and, understand, that, you got to cherish your life and now you got to do things differently.
Right.
It's like, hey, appreciate that shit now. Like you said, understand that tomorrow ain't promised. Later today ain't promised.
That's right.
And it's like, that's very rare. So like, for the fact to have that gratitude just for life, just to live, like I'm not even talking about just, going after your dreams and making things happen. Just to have that real gratitude for life and to trust and to have that faith is so fucking important, because so many people walk around sometimes either so angry,
right,
or so just not appreciative of everything. Like, it's crazy because a lot of people do way more than we probably even think.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when, you're walking around in a positive mindset and, you're trusting the process. And even when things go wrong, you may bitch a little bit, but you still getting up. That's very rare. So I want to give it up to you too.
Yay.
Because it's rare.
It's so important, and I think that it's important for me to give backstory to viewers and yourself that like I did have a near-death experience that definitely. I've always been a person of faith. I've always been a person who's like, this is my calling, this is my gift, and I think being like a awkward kid made it easier for me because I was like, no one's paying attention to me. I'm just going to keep going and keep working. But I did, when I was 24, I had a very serious infection, like in my blood. And there was a time that I wasn't sure if I would live. And there was a time that I wasn't sure if I would ever sing again. And that certainly lit a fire under me that I can vividly remember laying in my hospital bed where my temperature went up to like 106 or 5. So bad that they rushed in. They stripped the blankets off my bed. They put ice bags all over my body to cool my body down. And I was like, this is really not good. And I mean, laying there saying, God, I swear to you, I get it. This is my calling. I know it's hard. I'm sorry. Please let me live and do it all the way. And not a lot of people know that story. So they're like, wow, you have so much drive. But I made a deal and I'm still here. And so my job is to continue to make a difference through my music and everything. Yeah.
Give it up to you for fighting and keep pushing.
Yeah.
For you now, for that moment, do you know why? Like, why did you end up like in the hospital? Like, why did that even... Do you know?
It was God being like, hey, you're not using your music. So what's going on here? Did you want to stay? But that's how I felt. It was totally random. It was totally 1 in a million situation.
Musically though, were you doing things musically?
Kind of, sort of, but I was bullshitting. I was not.
Do you think maybe at that point in your life you were maybe not like you were doing it, but you weren't really?
Oh yeah, I definitely wasn't doing it. I was like doing a little of this and a little of that. I always kind of was like, yeah, this is going to help my music. But it was kind of like I was getting further and further away from like really figuring out how to make that what I do. And yeah, I mean, I was in a place of life where I feel like, I don't know if I was just floating. I've always felt like I've been trying really hard for my music, but it was definitely a space where it woke me. It was a huge wake up call for me to be like, living this life is something to be thankful for no matter what the heck is going on, which still I struggle with all the time. Like, I don't want people to think like, oh my God, they see people you see people on podcasts, like we don't come as our like negative self. We come as our best self. Like we want to present like what we really feel, but I still struggle with that. I still, this didn't get done and this, I got to get this and that. But I think that it was a huge wake-up call for me. And I think about it all the time. But a lot of people don't know that side. Even the people who are close to me, like, oh, yeah, you were sick. Yeah. And it's like, no.
Yeah, people.
It's a very spiritual experience because really a deeper thing that happened is that I can remember the doctor wheeling me in because I had an abscess in my throat and it was blocking my airway. And they were like, you have to sign this paper. And I was like, okay, what's it for? I'm on all these drugs. And they say, we might have to do a tracheotomy, which means they cut your throat and they put a tube in. Definitely would never sing again. And I was like, no, you can't do that. I'm a singer. And they were like, well, we want you to live. So you have to sign the paper. And I was on enough drugs that I didn't like have a breakdown. I just was like, okay. And I can remember my sister-in-law and my mother looking at each other like, holy shit. And they wheeled me into surgery and the surgeon said, this is Alaura. She's a singer. And it was like God being like, it's okay. You're okay.
Wow.
And they did an extra like 5 hours on my surgery so they didn't have to cut my throat.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And that's like you said, moments like that, is what, like, and you say some people won't get it. Some people won't understand.
Mm-hmm.
But those are the things, and those are the things. And, a lot of us that always push forward and keep going, those are the moments. You know, those are the moments that when those happen, you either go left or you go right. You know, a lot of people, I commend you again too, because just because you had that experience don't mean that you automatically going to go one way.
I agree with you. And I think in addition to that, I agree with you to say like, yeah, that really shook me up, but like, don't wait for that to happen to get to where I'm at. Like, I always imagine like, what if I do like little games with myself where it's like, you know, what if I couldn't see? Like, what would these things be like? And what if I couldn't hear? And what if, like, I couldn't taste that? Or I couldn't, like, what if I didn't have hands? Like, how would that be? And, like, you have to put yourself in that to kind of be like, oh, wow, that would be different. You know, I'm thankful that I have my health and my eyes and my ears. And
yeah. But even when that did happen, though, you could have just went a whole nother direction, and that could have broke you. You know, that could have really been like, nah, fuck that. I'm not going to do anything. Look, you know, there's things happening to me. Maybe I'm not meant for it. You know, like there's so many other routes you could have went. But you said, nah, I'm going to take that shit and I'm going to light some fucking fire up.
It did break me. It did break me. My favorite, I'm so big on analogies. One of my favorite analogies I've ever heard is like, you're a glow stick and you have to be broken to glow. And that's kind of always stuck with me of like, it did break me just like Atlanta broke me, but it made me shine brighter. And so like, there is this period, I feel like I'm learning a lot about seasons and about, you know, how life is like seasons. And it's like, you have to, I did go through a season of being broken. And I mean, it took me months to recover from that situation. And I had that surgery in August and I didn't sing until February. So like, it's not like when you tell the story, you know, it goes from this to this and you're like, wow, that's so cool. And then people who are watching might be in a horrible time of life and they're like, oh, that's so nice for them. There is a waiting period. There is a period of, you know, winter, but then spring comes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a process. Now for you, what was that like? Like what helped you? Cause you know, you were recovering. So what was that like? You know, what was those next few months like after the surgery and everything?
I mean, I had 3 surgeries back to back to back. They got the abscess out, woke up, ice bags. It grew back in 12 hours. They were like, what's going on? They did another surgery. Then they were like, she needs her tonsils out, but she will bleed out on the table if we do it right now. So I had to wait 4 months for recovery and have another surgery. Which was awful. It was terrible. But it was making me be like, I was like a gym rat. And I couldn't do anything. I could barely take a shower by myself. I had an at-home nurse. I had an IV at home. It was very intense. And it made me be like, I'm going to walk around the block today. And that's going to be an accomplishment. That's all I could do. And so it was a long road to recovery, but it made me have that piece of me that I have now.
Yeah. And that's powerful. Let me give it up. We get another gunshot for you. Oh, we needed some sound in here. Because now you take that with you probably everywhere you go, and that's why you push, and that's why you keep going, and that's why you tell the stories that you tell, and you express yourself the way you do now. Because just imagine, like, you were expressing yourself before that through music, but just now the way you do it now is probably a lot of that's because of that.
Yeah.
Even without you really even thinking about it, like, you know, it may come up time to time and stuff, but that's all deeply rooted.
Yes, I agree. I think I'm like getting to an age where I'm like, oh, this was for that, and this was for that, and like I think in your 20s you're like, nothing's working, and it's like, yes, it is, but it's gonna be 5 years before that thing makes sense to you. And that's like a hard pill to swallow. And now I'm at a place where I'm like, ooh, what's going to happen in the next 5 years? You know, where am I going to be then? I never used to think like that.
It's, you know, I think that's like where my faith really started kicking in when I started doing that math and I started piecing things together and noticing like, oh, okay, that happened because of this and this happened because of that. But that takes time.
It does.
You know, sometimes it takes like...
Which is like the most annoying piece of advice. Like, give it time. You're like,
Yeah, it's like, but it's so simple. Give it time. But it's the fucking truth, because I guarantee you, like, you know, you have a situation and you're like bugging out. But it's like, yo, come back to that in 5 years. And then you're going to know why it happened.
Right.
And that's what woke my faith up. Like I've had many things of like, I've had a wild life. Like I've had adversity like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But it was to a point where I didn't understand what it was all doing.
Right.
Like it was all those little things that was all for a reason. Every single thing was for a reason. But I just thought I thought I was like cursed. I thought I was yeah. I thought.
See, that's so interesting because I think a lot of people, it's like take that perspective where it's like, why is this happening to me? And it's like, you know, this is so annoying, but it's like God gives those strongest battles to the strongest warriors. And it's like, that's true. You know, maybe you're meant for something great. Like your story is different than my story, but you've shaped into a person where you're using this platform, you know, to help people and let people have a place to relate. And so like all those things help you there. And mine did for me and other people, you know, how could this help? How could this serve? Because my whole thing with my television show, with my You Matter movement, with everything is like, we all have a story. My story is not going to relate to every single viewer you have. Maybe a little, maybe some, maybe none. Like, it's not going to relate on every single level, but you know, you have other guests and like, that's why it's so important for everybody to like, just really live that and live their truth and be, you know, I'm here for a reason. You are. Everybody is.
Yeah. Every single person and all those experiences, they are meant for a certain purpose. It's just what you do with them.
Right.
You know, how you grow through them, how you live through it. Your perspective, again, your perspective is everything. Your perspective on your regular day to day will like change your life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and for now, you know, you even like when we first linked up, you know, you're speaking at schools, like that is so amazing. And even just watching you, like I wanted to like I was filming it, but I wanted to just sit there and be like a spectator.
Yeah.
Because like it was so beautiful and, you know, it was so real and authentic. And I felt, you know, everything you were saying came from like a real place, you know, and a lot of the messages you were saying to these kids, like they really need to understand and they need to hear that because they probably don't, you know, they don't hear that. The most simplest thing as, you know, you were letting them all hug you, you know, you let like hundreds of kids just, you know, come up to you and give you a hug. And like, that's super, super important because sometimes, you know, sometimes maybe they didn't get a hug in forever, you know, who knows, maybe when the last time they got a hug and for many reasons, maybe, you know, just life, you know, parents being busy, this and that or whatever, or sometimes maybe just because they don't have that love at home. So you never know. But like for what you do there, just want to let you know that is like extremely needed.
Thank you.
You know, and that's extremely touching on all different surfaces, you know. So for you, like, you know, you have that as the You Matter movement, like, and hearing you break that down to the kids and stuff like that, like I can understand that's like really super, super powerful to you. So for like you, why did that become important? Why did it become important for you to explain to others that they matter? Like, you know, I have my own thing, like this is check on your strong friend, you know. For me this was always big because I was always the strong friend, or, you know, people like that, you know, sometimes they're always the strong one and you wouldn't know that they're going through it too,
right? I love that.
But for you it's like, you know, you matter. Like where did that kind of come from?
I think it comes from a place of what you asked me about, like when did that kind of hit you? And it was late in life that I was like, I am valuable. I am talented. I am worthy to be here. I am unique and special. And no one really shined a light on that. Of course, like people love you in the way that they do or whatever. But like you said, things slip through the cracks and you don't know with the kids, like a lot of times kids definitely don't voice how they feel all the time, or, you know, these kids these days are a lot more articulate, I feel like, than I was. But like you said, I don't know when they're getting a hug. I don't know, you know, we played a game of Simon Says and we play a game of Simon Says that says, if you ever feel happy, clap your hands. And if you ever feel mad, stomp your feet. And the kids love Simon Says, but it's like, we all feel mad. We all feel sad. We all feel happy. We all feel excited. We all feel hopeful about things. And the power of knowing that you can dictate your life, you can choose the perspective, you can create what comes next, that's powerful. And then when you're 9 to know that, it's amazing. I mean, we can change the world by teaching these kids that they can do whatever they want. They can, create whatever it is that's important to them. And doing it in a way that says, if I can teach them how to empower themselves, nothing can stop them.
Yeah. Because the most simplest thing it may sound simple, let them know that they matter, but it's really, like we were talking about before, it's understanding like the purpose.
Yep.
The person's true purpose. And it's like, what one person can do in this world is tremendous. The impact one person can do, like your impact, that you do. I mean, I talk about it a lot in this podcast, is like we under diminish and we undermine like our everything.
Yes, I agree.
Everything about us, like our impact on the world and what we do and how much we really do matter on all levels, about who we inspire, who we motivate, who loves us, everything. Like we really take it for granted. So I just thought that was really important, really powerful to remind them that they matter, because sometimes, you could really just think that you're just here.
Right.
And again, not having that gratitude for these things, because you could just think that, you're here along for the ride. And I think a lot of people
live that way.
Unfortunately, they do, because sometimes maybe they don't have like, especially like when you're creative, like it's crazy, because I'll like hear this time to time from people, and I don't like it, because we all are so dope in our in all of our different realms, right? Like I've had even certain women be like, oh, I don't know if we should date because I'm just like a regular guy. I'm like, I'm a regular, like we both doing, different things, whatever. Like you shouldn't think that you maybe matter less. Like I don't even know how to call that, but I don't, like, everyone is super, super dope in their own way.
Right.
And everyone is super, super impactful, and everyone is able to, make change, and they're just, their existence, the fact of them living, like you said, and all that, is so great that sometimes people just don't think about it, because maybe they're just doing a quote unquote regular job, or they're living like, a life that isn't, in the stars or anything. People start under diminishing themselves and not understanding that they matter.
Right. But the thing is, and like back to your question about like, oh, what gave you that faith, whatever. My thing that's part of like important to me about the You Matter movement is I always felt like, I'm not sure how or when or what to do or whatever, but I know that whatever that person I admire came from, I came from it too. There is this cosmic energy that we all come from. And so I always felt like, I'm not Beyonce, and I'm not trying to be Beyonce. I want to be a Alaura Lovelight, but like whatever she comes from that makes her amazing, she's tapped into the source. That's what makes her great. And I'm from the source too. And you're from the source too. So it's not a matter of comparison. It's a matter of tapping into that stream of energy and saying, what's meant for me? What am I here for? On the show, I always close the show with, remember to be present, aligned, and be willing to move towards the things that are already meant for you. Like it's already ready for you. You just have to kind of let that flow. It's like turning on the faucet. If this faucet's off, obviously there's no water. Like turn on the faucet.
I think sometimes people don't know, like they want to let things flow. They just don't know where to go.
Right.
Especially now. It's like, we have so many like different options and things, and like, especially if you're like a creative, or you just, sometimes people have different dreams. Like they'll have a few different dreams and they don't know what I should do. I always tell people, do all that shit.
Yep.
I say to people, live, our life is short.
Try it all. See what
Try it
works.
all. That's what I say. Like, I'm never one, you should just pick this one thing and then fuck everything else.
Nope.
Our life is short. You know what I'm saying? Like life is
too short.
Yeah. Like you never know, live, do you. And again, just let it flow and let the, I always say, where your focus goes, your energy flows.
Yes, it does.
And it does.
That deserves a boop, boop, boop.
It deserves a something, right? What do you think? Gunshot, right? Where your focus goes, your energy flows. And it really does. It's where you're focusing on. As long as you're focusing on it, and you're focusing on it, I say it all the time on here. You just got to focus on it. Then the energy is going to flow to it.
That's right.
Like I've done some things that I put major focus on, and the energy flows and everything all works out. But if you're not focusing on it and you're not doing it, you have to actually do it, right? So you can't, you could focus on it, that's cool, but you actually have to put actions into it as well.
Right.
It's like everything we're saying on here, like for you took the actions.
Right.
Like you actually did things. You weren't just thinking about them and saying, okay, come to me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I always try. I was like, well, worst case scenario, it doesn't work. Best case, I get somewhere with this.
Yeah.
But I think something that's important to address about the You Matter movement too is a lot of us put a very big weight, especially now that there's social media and like, what's my purpose? It's like this heavy weighing question. It's like, your purpose is to be here and you're here. So good job. It's like, it's not that serious. Your purpose is to try and learn. Like, this is a life class. Like, we're here on this planet to learn and grow and try and have experiences and, affect other people and impact with our story. Like, you don't have to have a purpose. Like, music is my purpose because that's the way the cosmic energy decided to play out. And it's been a crazy ride, but that's what I know. This is your purpose. But like, it's so easy to explain because we've all met that person who's a waitress or a FedEx guy, and they brighten the hell out of your day because they're just so happy. They're so content. That's purpose. Purpose is being here and being happy and having faith and gratitude and thankfulness and appreciation. You don't have to be like, am I supposed to do sports? Am I supposed to be an actor? Sure, that's part of it, but it's not that serious. Try, do things, don't do things. Like for me, pivoting to the television show has been so big for me because, it's been so eye-opening. There's so many celebrities that I admire. And now all of a sudden I'm seeing, oh yeah, like The Rock, he's doing his wrestling, he's doing his football, and all this ends. Now look at who he is in the world. He's an incredible person in this world because he had that willingness to be like, okay, let me go this way. So many people, I was going to do sports. A lot of people who are in television are like, I was a singer. You just go with the flow of the universe. Where focus goes, energy flows,
Yeah, no, because again, just being you.
Yeah.
Just being you at the end of the day, like whoever you
right,
are.
and you matter. Right.
Yeah.
And that's where that is.
It's like sometimes, like you said, sometimes it's not that deep.
It's
like I actually mention it a lot, like off air, and when I'm talking with people, like it's like sometimes it's like
just chill out.
Yeah,
man.
just be who you are.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not that deep.
It's not.
Like you don't need to sit there and go into a room in a think tank and be like, okay, what is my purpose? These things just be you. As long as I always tell people lead with your heart.
Yes.
Lead with your integrity. And I think everything else will fall into place. And sometimes you may not even know your purpose.
Right. And that's okay.
Yeah. You may think it's one thing and it could be something else.
Right.
Like sometimes I'll even catch you with myself. Like sometimes I think, okay, but then it's like, no,
right.
It's this, like you may have multiple purposes. Like we're multifaceted. Like for you, it's not just music.
Right.
There's many other things that you
Who
have.
knew?
Yeah.
I never knew.
That's what I'm saying. You're thinking it's just maybe
it's got to be music.
But it's not.
Nope. God's like, look at this. I'm like, oh, cool.
Yeah. We're all like a tree of multiple different things that we have, and just leading with love, leading with integrity, and just being who you are at the end of the day, and just keep pushing. Eventually everything is going to come out. But now you got the show. That's a whole nother level. That's a whole nother, purpose and things that you're going to be doing and talking about. Like, so what is like some of the things that you kind of want? Because I know right now you're filming, right? You're in the middle of it. So what are some things that you're going to want to be getting into on the show?
The show is really focused on the willingness to live a good life. every episode we talk about the willingness to. And we've talked about the willingness to ask for opportunities, the willingness to go within and really kind of learn about yourself, the willingness to overcome obstacles when they come up. And it's been really cool to hear people's stories about achieving things and happiness and success, whatever that means to them, and how they had to have a certain willingness. And people, that kind of concept came from people constantly asking me, like, how are you doing well with your music? You know, getting it on radio internationally and all that. And I said, yeah, I'm talented, but I had to have this willingness to not give up, to keep pushing, to have faith when things are uncertain, like overcome obstacles. There's all these things you have to say, okay, like willingness to adapt, willingness to pivot, all of those things. But we're really moving in a direction with the show of like the willingness to help, the willingness to make a difference. And I'm more and more like enlightened about that being part of my purpose, is to really kind of help people along this journey and give practical applications about, you know, I constantly talk about, this is my life's attitude because I do it every day. I don't do it when I'm sitting here with you on the podcast. I don't do it, you know, when I'm on my television show. I do it every day. I meditate every single morning. I write in my journal every day, and it's still hard. So my hope is with the show that we can give people real practical application steps to say, hey, I wrote in my journal every day this week and I feel better. Hey, I meditate every single day and I'm not as stressed out. Hey, you know, I saw the show and I did these practical application steps about overcoming obstacles and why am I so attached to this, and just breaking down limiting beliefs that we create. Because especially by the time you're our age and, you know, we're still super young, is we've created all these limiting beliefs based on who you're raised by, based on your friends, based on your environment, based on all these different things that can kind of like put you on this moving sidewalk towards things you don't want, because that's how your brain is. Well, that doesn't work. Well, that won't work for me. And it's really this conscious effort to say, that's not what I want to think. That's not what I want to talk about. That's not, and stopping that all the time, every time. And that's what the show's about.
Yeah. That's super important, because those are things that a lot of times people need that like assistance with, or even that guidance with getting through it. Because, you know, it's hard out here, you know, life ain't easy.
I know.
You know,
but that's where it comes from. Even for myself, like I've been through things that I just don't even talk about, because like, yeah, I've gone through shit. Yeah, it's been hard. Yeah, there's some, you know, messed up stuff that's happened. But it's like, I don't let that dictate where I'm going. I don't let that be an excuse. I let it kind of subside and I say, no, I get to choose.
Yeah.
And everybody has that ability. But you have to work. It has to be a serious conscious effort. It's not easy to just like, I don't just like, I woke up like this. Like, that's like, you know, that's a cool thought, but it's not reality. You have to really work at it. Beyonce, yeah, she woke up like this fabulous. She works at it. She has a great surrounding team and people in her environment. She keeps focused, you know, in a certain direction. It's not a mistake. Oh, she's just fabulous. Like, yeah, she's cool. But like, you know, there's a real process, practical applications that have to go into it.
Yeah. That's what the times people forget is like that there's, you know, for all the greats and everyone doing their thing, is how much effort they put into things. You have to.
Right.
That's one thing I talk about a lot, is I'm big on that. Like, effort is one of the most important things, you know, especially for things, if you want to start accomplishing the things that you love and your goals and things like that, you have to be able to put in that effort, you know, and not just when you want to, not just on the good days, not, you know, part-time, do that. You know, if it's, you're doing it as a hobby, then it's a hobby,
right?
You know, you can't just change your life.
Call it what
it
is.
Yeah. Like things we do, you know, some of the people I work with, you know, like, everyone does different things. Some people do it X amount of time. Some people will do it other periods of time. But the ones that are doing the best for themselves are the ones that are putting in maximum amounts of effort.
Yeah,
you know.
it's true.
And it's just all it's going to take is because, there's a lot of things out there. There's a lot of competition out there in the world. There's a lot of other people doing what you're doing. There's just a lot of other things going on in the world.
Mm-hmm.
They're not even competition. It's just a lot of other things going on. And it just takes a lot of stuff. Like there's a lot of hours, like when we talk about like Kobe Bryant, you look up stories about how often Kobe was in the gym, how
Mm-hmm.
late he was,
Mm-hmm.
even, we're going to go to MJ. We're going to go to,
Mm-hmm.
all these different people, actors and like you said, Beyonce and these dancers and the thousands of hours and effort that they put in to become who they are. Like we're not like, none of us are like superheroes,
Right.
Like it doesn't work like that,
Right.
like it just, who's putting in the work,
Right.
Who's doing the things, who's having that discipline to keep going and to keep pushing and to just keep fighting, like no one is different. We're all the same, we're all built, got the same blood. None of us are superheroes, but it's about what you're putting into it.
Right.
Like what are you putting into it? What are you actually doing? What are you actually focusing on? And what are you doing at the end of the day? Because you can't just talk about it. You got to be about it.
Well, and like to me, I think that's another very important practical application that I've had to continuously do is like, you have to be hard on yourself. You have to be like, I'm not doing it. I'm not working as hard as I should. And like there's you can't be like beating yourself up. There's a line, but like you have to know when you could have done a better job. You have to be honest with yourself and you have to know like, yeah, I'm playing the victim. Yeah, I'm, woe is me and I need to snap out of it. Like you have to have some accountability with yourself. You have to.
What sign are you?
Aquarius.
Okay. That's why we follow each other. You're
Are you
close.
Sag?
No, so I'm a Capricorn.
Okay.
So
My mom's a Capricorn.
We're close. Oh yeah, when's her birthday?
January 14th.
January 14th. That's the day after my dad.
Oh.
Shout out to them. I'm January 3rd.
Okay.
Yeah, January 3rd. We're really close to New Year's and Christmas. Mm-hmm. Everyone's broke.
I'm 20. Yeah, right. And you get like nothing for your birthday. It's like Christmas. This is your birthday present too.
Yeah, it's everything. Whoa, boom. What's yours?
27. January 27.
January 27. Okay, you in January too.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. What are you doing for your birthday this year?
I don't know, but I want to do something. I'm like, I love birthdays, but I always feel like I have a weird thing around my birthday. Like something doesn't go right. I hate to say that because I'm like talking about all this positivity and then somehow some things happen on my birthday all the time. But this year year is different. And I would love to do something with my team and
like what?
I should think about that because it's important to be like direct about things with the universe.
Yeah, so
maybe vacation. Maybe, right now. Maybe somewhere warm on vacation.
Okay.
Let's put that in the universe.
It's out there. All right, somewhere warm. Yeah, figure it out because sometimes you gotta
a beach with a martini or some kind of margarita that's my happy place.
You just said it. It's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen.
Right? Just make it happen.
I'll send you all a picture.
Yes. All right. We need a selfie or something
Definitely.
out here. All right. But this was dope, y'all. I'm really glad you came on.
Yes, thank you for having me. I did. Thank you for having me. I love what you're doing. I think it's important for people to understand like this whole concept of therapy without a degree is like just what we talked about. The experience is what makes you the expert. And like I think it's very important to talk about really what's going on and like the whole concept of therapy without a degree. Like, let's have real conversations and be honest with yourself and be hard on yourself and, go after what you want. There's nothing that's stopping you except for you.
Yeah. And it's, perspective at the end of the day, because this conversation could have been therapeutic for somebody else.
I hope so.
Like this could have been a therapy session for somebody.
I hope so. It was for me.
Yeah. See, look at that.
Yeah.
So, you expressing yourself and, my thing is that, we all go through shit. Every one of us.
Right.
Every one of us. Every single person that sits here will have a different story, have different adversity and how they overcame it, or maybe how they're trying to overcome it.
Right.
And that everyone can relate.
Right.
Everyone. Trust me. Like, I know maybe like we don't want to always say it.
Right.
But
no one feels like me. Yes, they do.
Yes, we all go through very similar things.
Right.
Maybe at a different point. Like we were saying earlier, maybe you're going through this at 27. Maybe this person's going through this at 5. Maybe this person's going through this at 45. Like you never know, but we're all going through things And, you know, emotion is really, really weird too. Like, because what's really, really heavy for you may not be heavy for me.
Right.
Or vice versa. Or what's
Right.
maybe really heavy for me isn't heavy for you, but you never know. But we all feel, you know, we all have emotions. You know, we all go through things. And, you know, a lot of times, sometimes I think the most simplest thing is, you know, we want to, we like to hear when other people are maybe going through something similar as we're going through, because we remember that we're not alone.
Right.
Or it's just not just us.
Right.
You know, because sometimes we go through things and we go through life and we start thinking like, damn, just me, or what the fuck is wrong with me? What's wrong with my life? Or why do I keep going through this shit?
Right.
So I like to, you know, share these messages with people to make sure to remind them that they're not alone in their adversity. They're not alone in the things that, you know, maybe they feel like they need to seek therapy for, or the conversations that maybe they're trying to have in their head, but they don't know how to like unravel it. Because this is really, again, to help shift people's perspective. Because they could be going through the same exact thing that you've gone through, but their perspective is completely different.
Right.
And at the end of the day, like, I feel like, you know, in therapy, that's what they're doing. They're trying to help shift your perspective and move things around. Like, okay, you think like this because of this or this. Like, again, you know, we could kind of do that ourselves based on just like hearing other people's, you know, stories and just learning from it. And because we all go through similar things, you know, and, you know, anyone that's listening to this, you're not alone in whatever you're going through, you know, and we talk about all things in this pod, you know, sometimes like silly things, because even the silly stuff could be very heavy for people.
Yeah.
You know, like sometimes.
Or therapeutic.
Exactly. Like the conversations that are maybe like, that you wouldn't really think of that it's bothering somebody. Sometimes it could bother somebody.
Sure.
You know, so that's why we cover like all range of things here. But this was dope. We got to get you on again soon. Yeah. All right. We will come back for round 2. Maybe we'll do an event. We do a lot of things over here. So this was fun. Also, at the end of the show, we usually have everyone shout out something you think is dope, something you think is slept on out here. Could be anything. Could be music. Could be a TV show. Could be whatever you think is slept on out here.
I would say personally that the biggest thing that has impacted my life this year is a teacher called Joe Dispenza, Dr. Joe Dispenza. He is a neuroscientist. And for me, it was always like, I understood the spiritual aspect. I understood that you could create your reality. But learning about the science made me be like, ooh, let me not think that negative thought because it's going to wire this way in my brain. And like, it's more of a like, there's more weighing on it when you understand that scientifically things are happening when you're thinking negative versus positive. So I think that diving into Dr. Joe Dispenza's work will benefit anybody listening to this podcast.
How do you spell the last name?
Dispenza.
Okay. Let's check him out. You can find like what you think, YouTube?
He wrote a book called Becoming Supernatural, which I highly recommend. And he also wrote a book called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, which is something that has changed my life as well.
Check him out. And then also, you know, if you guys want to go grab that book, we do have a discount, right? So for audibletrial.com/therapy without a degree, use that code, you go get yourself a free book.
Yeah.
All right. So if they have a book, you can get one of those for free. What I'm gonna shout out is, you know, believe it or not, it's crazy because it's you would think it's not slept on, but it's slept on. The fucking internet. The internet is slept on, yo.
That's a good one.
Because people still
Google it, man.
But people still don't understand the power of the internet.
I agree. I'm obsessed with searching how to do everything.
We wouldn't be sitting here today if it wasn't the internet.
I know.
Like the internet brings together people and even like where I was really going originally with it was like making money too via the internet.
Yeah.
And like, you know, I was talking to Jaylene, you know, she's over there and we're talking, we're texting and stuff. And I'm like, you know, Jay, we're talking about, you know, her first job coming soon and stuff like that. And I'm like, she's talking about maybe McDonald's or something. No, I just don't feel, I'm like, yo, you work for me. Like she's already done some work for me and stuff.
Nice.
Cause I'm like, yo, it's crazy, but people don't understand the power of the internet. Like I could, and now this is the process of what I'm gonna be, you know, teaching her and stuff, how to make money online. And it's crazy because people just don't understand.
Yeah.
Like I could teach you, and this is going to be, you know, my listeners, you're going to see. Soon I'll let y'all know, like, okay, yeah, she made X amount in this amount of time, but like, yo, I'm going to teach her how to make the same amount of money she would have been spending at her time at McDonald's.
Absolutely.
Making online. You know, there's ways.
There's a lot of ways.
You know, and
a million ways.
I'm always like, I'm one to always like, I do a lot of like out stuff too, but a lot of my stuff is virtual.
Yeah.
You know, I do a lot of things right from my phone. Like I'm always on my phone, but
Same.
I'm doing a lot of things virtually, you know, connecting things virtually. So it's like, yo, just don't sleep on the internet, you know, 'cause like really just do your research. Everything is out there. You know, YouTube is where I've learned pretty much a lot of my stuff. You know, just that, other podcasts, listening to podcasts. Like I have like 4 or 5 different podcasts I listen to weekly. You know, one is for entertainment. The rest are all like educational.
Yeah.
You know, and they just teach you so many different things. And there's a real way to make a living now in fucking 2022, 2023 via the internet.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I'm not saying it's easy because again, we have just back to what we were talking about before. You got to put in that effort. But yo, the world is changing, yo. And especially with the whole metaverse coming now soon and all this and all that, it's just crazy. So I'm just saying, don't sleep on the internet. You know, research some ways. There's a lot of cool ways to make some money out here. And other than that, this was fun. This was real. Getting an air horn. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate
Thank you for having me.
Where can they find your stuff?
Okay, so the show is called The Alaura Show.
The Alaura Show.
It's on ONNJ, which is a New Jersey streaming app. It's on Roku and Amazon. So if you have a smart TV, you can go and you download ONNJ. It's free, and you'll see me there.
Let's go.
Yeah, and then social media too, of course, is at Alaura Lovelight everywhere.
Go follow her. Make sure you check out everything she has going on with Therapy Without a Degree. Where we're at. We're this episode will probably be out January, top of January. This episode will be out. So it probably was just my birthday.
Our birthday.
Oh yeah, it's
Yay, we should have had a birthday episode. We need birthday cake.
Yeah, because this is gonna be out like top of January.
Cool.
It's gonna be out top of January, right? So we have that going on. So you guys, and actually, which is crazy because January is also the 1-year anniversary for the Therapy Without a Degree, the series.
Oh yay!
So the 3-episode limited edition series, which everyone's asking me for a season 2. Maybe, but you guys gotta share and give a little bit more love to the first season we have out, and then maybe we'll think about doing a second season. But go, live that up. Actually, also, it's probably not gonna be on the YouTube for much longer. I'm gonna probably submit it to film festivals.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna submit it. Everyone's telling me why the fuck didn't I submit it? So we're gonna submit that to film festivals. So it's only gonna be on the YouTube for a little longer. So go check that out. Also, what else we have going on for Jersey Media? Right, Right now, we have the billboard placements. So if you need a billboard for your business, if you're trying to market yourself, get yourself the attention you need, get yourself a billboard. Also, the most brand new thing that we have that Jersey Media is now offering is advertising on cable TV, right? So if you want your commercial on ESPN, if you want your commercial on News 12, if you want your commercial on MTV, BET, the Hallmark Channel, IDTV, whatever it is, we could put your commercial up there, right? So we could either film your whole commercial.
Same with ONNJ.
Yeah, well, all of it, you know. So
you could do it through Jersey Media.
Streaming, yeah, we could do that as well. You know, we could do Hulu, we could do Paramount Network.
Nice.
So we have access to all of those networks to distribute your brand and your commercial. So let us know, talk about it. We'll make it happen. And it's actually really affordable too. It's not as expensive as people think. Everyone thinks it's really expensive to get like TV commercials. I got you. I'm your guy. I'll hook you up. I'll get I'll get you on ESPN. Literally, I can get you on ESPN and all these different channels for less than $70 a month. I mean, $70 a day for the month.
I want that.
I got you. We'll talk. We'll talk.
Well, look for me on ESPN, guys.
Yes, no, for real. We'll get our ad. We'll get you right on ESPN. I'm telling you, yo, it's really, because this is what we do. This is what we do. How to do with Jersey Media is get you guys affordable options to get you more attention. So
wait, slept on. That's our last bonus. Slept on. Is digital marketing.
Exactly. Yeah, digital marketing.
Don't sleep on that.
Don't sleep. Again, the internet.
Yes.
Internet. But other than that, we out of here, people. This was fun.
Yes, thank you
Laura
for having
Lovelight.
me.
Yes.
Thanks, guys.
Adios. Peace.
Yeah, go team.
Yes.